Oh,
I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?
hey everybody, how are you doing tonight? Thanks for coming to the show. I'm your host, Dano Hamilton. You can call me Dano, you can call me Dan, you can call me Daniel, doesn't matter. You guys, tonight I got an amazing guest. I became fast friends with this person, and I'll introduce him shortly. But before we do that, I just want to say, you guys, thank you so much for coming on the show and supporting it. Tonight is the last full night, I should say. Well, no, I guess say tomorrow. So tomorrow at 11:59 p.m., my giveaway is going to end. So if you want a chance to win this hat in the giveaway, all you need to do is go over and join the Cryptid Podcast as part of the Cryptid crew. That membership is only $2.99, and with that membership, you get an early access to a Saturday release show that I do once a month, and then you also get your name on in for a drawing for that hat. Again, it will end tomorrow, June 10th at 11:59 p.m. And then after that, I'll draw the winner for that hat. So stay tuned for that live announcement. So tonight's guest, you guys, he is, I would like to say, well known in this community. He does 4 shows, and he's, from what I've heard from other people, he's had a pretty incredible Bigfoot encounter. You guys, I'm going to bring on Mr. Bigfoot, Michigan, Rob. Brother, how you doing on?
Well, thank you for the mister. No, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Dano.
Yeah, it was great being on your show.
Yeah.
And I love going in. One of the shows that you're involved in is Blondes and Booze, and I love going on there. I love interacting in the chat. Great group of people. Your show as well. Just phenomenal communities.
Thanks. It's all driven by the community too. We have a lot of great people that's been following us for, I think, 3 years, maybe going on 4 years now, Dano. And of course, my channel, Bigfoot Mission Rob, and you did mention the Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast. And I've been friends with Kristen Brandy for about 3 years. And of course, it's all my first friend that I met ever, though, in this field was Tex from Texas Front Porch. So we've put together a great community over the last few years, and I didn't expect to be a podcaster talking cryptids and the paranormal, to be honest with you. In fact, several years ago, Tex and I were already friends, and I was watching his podcasts, and I wanted to do a sports podcast. And I wanted the ins and outs, how to do it and everything. And so he goes, yeah, I'll help you with that. And a week later, I ended up forming my channel, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. And I said, well, screw the sports. I'm going to do a cryptid show. So that's kind of how that evolved. And there's other avenues how that evolved. But yeah, so it's been a great time. We have a great community. We have a great chat room like you do. And when I had you on my show a couple of weeks ago, I must say it was very well received. People loved you. I'm pretty sure you picked up some subscribers off of that, telling about your experiences, I should say. And I'm glad that I met you. I think, excuse me, I think you're a great guy. And I'm glad that you're part of this community because we need more people like you, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. And it's, again, your community was very welcoming, and I picked up quite a few. I think I picked up like 30 new subs.
Oh wow, awesome. Well, I tell you what, that makes me feel really good because when I first started, a lot of times I didn't get that from other podcasters. And I remember what I would do for people that come on my show. I'm going to make sure I promote them because it's so hard, as you know, to start a channel.
Yeah.
Keep it growing, man.
Yeah. I mean, I'm at almost 3,000 subs. Well, I'm almost at 2,900 subs. So, but my goal for the end of the month is to hit 3,000 subs. So,
You probably will. This is the beginning of June. That's only 100. I just went over 5,704, I think, just this morning.
yeah,
So,
that's fantastic. And I started this channel in October of 2024. And when I say I started it, I just got it up and running. I hadn't posted any content until early November, and then it's just shot up, So
no, you're doing a great job, and I've reviewed your channel. I've watched quite a few episodes, and yeah, you get a nice amount of views. You do a great job. You know what you're talking about, but you put out, more importantly though, you put out a good quality product, which is not appreciated by a lot of people sometimes. You don't go on the air just to talk.
yeah,
Like I said, I am on 4 days a week. I'm always on Tuesday night at 9, always Thursday at 1. And Friday, though, I do a BMR show storytelling. And I get emails from folks that I share because they don't want to come on the show, but they say, hey, Rob, you can tell my story on your show. So I slated and started the Friday night show. But I will tell you, I'm not one of these guys that does a show just to do a show. If I don't have good material on that Friday, I just don't do a show.
yeah,
I need to have something that the people will like, and it's not haphazard. It's like, well, let's just do a show because, you know, I don't do that. And then I'm on Saturday nights with the girls,
yeah,
Brandy, Monica, and Krista. And so that's always cool at midnight, at 11 o'clock on Saturday. So, yeah, it's evolved over the last 3 years. It's a variety. We talk about cryptids, the paranormal, everything else in between. So I really enjoy it. It's been very fulfilling, I should say.
yeah. I don't know if you know this, but I had a paranormal podcast at one time,
Okay. Yeah, I think you
and
mentioned that, but
yeah,
yeah.
it just got weird. A lot of things I think were going on, were manifesting, and plus I was getting some really negative emails. Not that people saying that the product was garbage,
Yeah.
just it was getting scary and threatening, and I just deleted it all. Deleted all. I mean, I love talking paranormal because I've
Yeah.
had more paranormal experiences than I've had cryptid
Yeah.
experiences.
Me too.
Um, and I've had some terrifying encounters, and I've had some very heartwarming encounters, I guess you can say. And
Okay.
but I made a promise to some very special people of mine that I wouldn't um delve into, the whole
Mm,
paranormal realm
okay.
anymore,
Okay.
so but yeah, so when I had you, when I was on your show, I said, man, I actually told you I need you on my show before I came on your show.
Yeah, you did a while back because it's so cool because for a while there I was seeing who is this, the Cryptid Podcast? You were showing up in the Bonds and the Booze. Then you started venturing over to my show. I'm like, oh wow, who is this guy? And I think in the chat room I might have sent you, hey man, we got to hook up. Come on a
Yeah,
show or something. I think that's how it all started with you and I. Then
yeah,
and now I'm here with you, and you were
yeah,
on with me, as I said, like 2 weeks ago or whatever it was.
yeah, and it's crazy because the cross promotion brought I think brought some fans from me to you, and definitely from you to me.
Okay.
And now I see a lot of the same people. Like I'll jump into yours, and they don't even say, "Hey, what's up, Cryptid Podcast?" They call me by my first name,
Oh
so
yeah,
they know
that's
who I
great.
am. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
as I said earlier, that's always a great feeling. I love that. I just love hearing stories like that because I'm more of a giver than a receiver. I just love helping people, and that's
yeah,
really how I got involved. The reason I did start the channel is because it's about helping others. Because, and we're going to get into it in a minute. When I had my Bigfoot encounter, now much like you in the beginning, I've had many paranormal experiences from the age of 5
yep,
all the way throughout my entire life. Many. You can even put a couple UFO sightings in there. But I've
Mhm.
had experiences with ghosts, shadow people,
Mhm.
weird things. And I was like, okay. I even had a person come in and cleanse my home when I was married at one time. Not even a podcaster. I was in my like 30s, early
Mhm.
30s. But I must tell you, when I came across my experience in 2018, June 15th, is when I said, you know what? After I got through the whole experience and went back and I set new boundaries for myself, I said, you know what? When this happened to me, Dano, nobody helped me. It took me forever to find someone to help me and give me what I needed to hear
Mhm.
correctly, not some BS, some garbage. That was the toughest time for me. And I was frustrated. So, as a result of that, I said, I'm going to turn this into something positive. And really, that's how my channel was born, based off of my experience and knowing that being lost and alone is not a good place,
Yeah.
because I went to a dark place for a little while because of what happened to me.
Yeah.
And that's where I am today. And today, you know, I pulled myself out of a rut. I really did, which I'll
Yeah.
talk about as we, continue on.
Well, let me ask you this: how? Because for me, it took me over 30 years to openly come out and talk about my sighting, and it wasn't until probably 20, probably 2012, 2013, when I really started getting into investigating online, going on YouTube, doing Google searches for stories and these sounds, because I made a checklist for myself, and I decided to start this for a selfish reason, and
Yeah,
that reason being self validation, to make
yeah,
sure I I've heard a few stories, here and there of things, but then I really wanted to get in and say, okay, I know I heard this. I heard this. I countered this. I think I saw this. Are there other people out there that experienced exact same thing I did? And it was overwhelming. It just started happening like boom. My checklist. I was checking things off and
yeah,
seeing that you know hundreds and thousands of people, all walks of life, all different regions of the United States, encountered the same thing I did or similar things that I did. And it just made me feel better. And then that's when I decided, you know what? I contacted Wes Germer from Sasquatch Chronicles
yeah.
and said, "Here's my story." And he had me on, and then it was just easier. It just felt like a big weight lifted off my shoulders, you know?
Yeah, that's it's funny you bring that up, because my encounter took place in 2018, and immediately after that, I started researching into all this. Then they came to an abrupt halt, which I'll get into when I tell the encounter. And then I finally made it publicly known in 2019. And the first person that I got in touch with was Wes Shermer. And that's the very first time ever that I told my encounter was on Sasquatch Chronicles.
Yeah,
And it was a pre record. And I must tell you that it we probably took 20 takes, because the first 8 to 10 takes I started crying.
wow.
And but he was so cool, so cool. And then finally the product put out was okay. Still not my best work, but it was the first time I ever told it.
Yeah,
And it was still a struggle. It was a struggle. So he did the best he could with it.
yeah,
And I still have it. I saved it. Every once in a while I'll listen to it. And then I just say to myself, I've come a long way since then.
yeah.
you know?
And I think, I think that goes for everybody because, yours was very traumatic. the last encounter that and I don't know yours because
Yes.
I didn't hear it, but I'm just assuming from what you just told me, it was a very traumatic episode for you.
Yeah.
And in my last encounter when my little brother was present, he was 18, I was 20, and that's what really took me out of the woods like I used to be.
Okay.
And then talking about it, I've remembered more and more and more aspects of my sighting, and you know, come to realization that I had had encounters prior to that
Yeah.
and then after that, but I only had one sighting, you
Yes.
know? But, when you got something that sounds like a bulldozer ripping through the woods, flanking you, um, you know, in that area, there's nothing that big that's tearing up the woods, you
Yeah.
know? There's, so, but you know what? Let's get into your encounter. All right.
Yes, certainly. There's two dates that I'll never forget in my lifetime. And the first date is June 15th of 2018, and the second date is August 15th, 2 months later of 2018. At the time I was dating my girlfriend, her name was Cindy, and we've been dating for going on close to 2 years. And one day I had told her that, hey, I got a surprise for you, because Cindy was not much of an outdoors person, and I love camping, hiking, fishing. Cindy, not so much so, but I said, look, I'm going to introduce you to a little exploring, in the woods. And I said, we're going to start out by doing some simple fishing. So she says, okay, I knew a friend of mine back then was in the real estate business, and he happened to have a cabin that was for rent in the Manistee National Forest. Now, that is the backdrop to where I actually went, which was Lake Cadillac, which is in Cadillac, Michigan, and the county is Wexford, Michigan. So that's the place that we ventured off to. And Lake Cadillac is very nice. I mean, it's about 3 miles, I want to say, east of Lake Michigan. But the backdrop is, of course, the Manistee National Forest. Now, the Manistee National Forest, everybody unfamiliar with Michigan, is not our largest forest or national forest, but it goes from, I always say, like the East Coast, the West Coast to the East Coast, because it goes from Lake Michigan all the way across the entire state of Michigan to Lake Huron. So west, the west to the east, and it's very expansive. The Manistee National Forest also has a lot of strange activity. In fact, Wexford County, which I found out later in life, is quote unquote the capital for Dogman in my state. And Wexford County is also known for quite a few Bigfoot experiences. Also, the Manistee National Forest, there's certain parts that there's alleged curses cast down by First Nations. So a lot of paranormal activity as well. So the forest, you guys, is got everything that you want if you're an explorer or researcher, whatever you're into. The Manistee National Forest has it. Of course, now early on, Dano, I did not know these things because I knew about Bigfoot and the paranormal from previous paranormal experiences throughout my life, but I never, you know, dive deep into it. I didn't become a researcher, an investigator. I just had these crazy things going on. And I knew about Bigfoot from Leonard Nimoy In Search of, and I thought it was fascinating. And then I did have an opportunity to see the Patterson Gimlin film. So me being an open minded guy, kind of figured Bigfoot existed. I mean, right off of the gate, I believed in Bigfoot. I believed in UFOs and all these things and ghosts. I did. Seen ghosts, seen a UFO, but not Bigfoot. But that wasn't my thing. I didn't look for Bigfoot. So, anyways, going back to my adventure with Cindy Cadillac. So I get up, we get this, I had this rented little home in Cadillac, Michigan. And I also was provided a rental boat. It was like a skiff, not like a fishing boat, not a bass boat, like a Ranger. It was big enough for two people. And I will tell you, Dano, that it probably sat 8 inches out of the top of the water. So, it's just enough to get around on. Okay. But Lake Cadillac is a big lake. Now, I'll explain a little bit about Cadillac. Very big, a lot of beautiful homes surround the lake, a lot of small businesses, mom and pop shops. And it also had a lot to provide for Cindy. There's a lot of small retail shops, antique stores, a quaint little town, a nice place to take a date, take your wife. Very laid back, very relaxing. So the morning of June 15th arrives, and we get up there. I think the night prior actually, and we get the little skiff out on the water at 10 a.m. I told Cindy I want to be on the water at 6 a.m., but of course that was way too early for her. So we started our day about 10 in the morning. I think it's the middle of the week, like a Tuesday or Wednesday. So everybody was at work. It's not a holiday. So we really had pretty much the lake to ourselves. So we proceed onto the lake, and we're tooling around. I'm getting familiar with this boat, and we're out. And so finally put our tackle together, and we started drifting along, looking at the beautiful homes in the background, this, that, and the other. And we're fishing. We're into our fishing experience for maybe an hour, hour and a half. And I must tell you, it was quite boring. I'm looking at Cindy. She goes, "Oh, Rob, this is, what fishing's all about. How boring." She goes, "You're lucky that we're in a beautiful area, you know." I kind of laugh. I go, "Yeah, let's reel in our rods and reels, Let's go explore Lake Cadillac a little bit." So we're took the little skiff and we're just boating about the lake. Then I came up upon a canal. Um, and I ventured, took the boat through this canal, pretty wide. It was man-made, I believe. It appeared to me anyway. And then we got out into another lake. The adjoining lake is called Lake Mitchell. Now, Lake Mitchell also is a pretty sizable lake as well. But I liked it a little much more. I mean, as far as the scenery goes, Dano, the backdrop of the Manistee National Forest is what you see. It's just encompassed with the forest. There are homes, yes, a little more spread apart, not as many. There's a small little park, but it's more quaint. It's more, I can see that this would not be the spot you would go on the weekend. They'd be on Cadillac. So very scenic. And it's very important for everybody listening and watching. I have to paint the picture that over here on Lake Mitchell, or for that entire day, not a cloud in the sky, beautiful blue sky, a ripping, beautiful orange sun, the backdrop of the Manistee National Forest, emerald green, lush, beautiful, just fantastic, fantastic, very relaxing, very serene. So I take the little skiff, the little boat with Cindy and and I start traversing about Lake Mitchell, looking for a spot to probably, resume the fishing activity one last time to see if we get any action. So I found a nice spot. It was almost like in a bay. It was down like in the southwest corner of Lake Mitchell. And it's kind of it's like a bay, right? I think it's called Mitchell Bay on the map, actually. And there it is, the beautiful forest in the background. So I put the motor, I put on like a low trolling speed, and I go about taking the rod and the reel, and I'm putting together our tackle. I'm redoing the tackle from before, trying some different baits, some different lures. So I'm not paying any attention. I'm going about putting together the tackle. Cindy is just, gazing into the woods. I can tell she's feeling the vibe, right? And then she says to me, "Hey, Rob, I th- I think someone's throwing rocks at the boat towards us." I go, "Really?" And I look up and I look to the shoreline and I don't see anything. Now, when I'm looking, you guys, the woods, it just drops right into the lake. I mean, there's like very limited area to stand. Although there's a section that's maybe 6 or 8 feet where perhaps you could put a picnic table and maybe two people could hang out. I mean, that was it. You're not going to sit there and throw rocks from the shoreline. I said, "Oh, Cindy, look, honey, I don't see anybody and I don't know." I said, "Oh, it's probably cool because there's probably some fish jumping around. Maybe we'll have some action." She goes, "Yeah, okay." So I go about my business and I'm going back and I'm again attending the tackle. 25, 30 seconds. Cindy says, "Rob, a little more pronounced. Hey, Rob, someone's throwing rocks at the boat." And I look up again, I see nothing. I said, "You see anybody on the shore?" She goes, "No, it came from the tree line." Well, there's no one there. I say, "Hey, look, give me a minute. Let me get the tackle back together. Let me get these rods, get the reel, everything in the water, and I'll join you." But I don't see anybody. She goes, "Okay." She's a little perturbed that I don't believe her, but at this point, I don't hear anything. I don't I don't hear no splashes, excuse me. So now I'm back again tending the tackle. I'm looking down. Then for whatever reason, Dan, and everybody watching and listening, I look up in the air. Just look straight up. Again, brilliant blue sky, beautiful orange sun. And I see something literally falling from the sky. Don't know quite what it is at this point until it gets closer to the water and it kerplop. It's a rock about the size of a baseball. And it lands maybe 4 to 5 feet in the boat. It's also important to tell everybody that where I'm drifting, everybody, I'm roughly 90 feet from the shoreline, which is pretty close. For those that follow baseball, running from first base to second base and so on, that's 90 feet. So close, okay? And boom, yeah, it's a rock. I turned to Cindy to kind of apologize, that, yeah, I actually witnessed this rock. But when I look at Cindy, everybody, it's June 15th, 2018. Cindy is a God worships this sun. She already had a ripping tan from head to toe. And I must tell you, when I looked at her, it seemed like all the color of that beautiful tan was extracted from her body. She almost looked pale, staring asphyxiated at the shoreline. I'm thinking in my head, what in the heck is she looking at? And I look, and standing there in a small clearing is this creature. He had to be maybe 8.5, 9 feet tall from my estimation. It's robust, had to be at least 4 foot wide. And the thing about this thing is it's standing there and I'm looking at it. I'm 90 feet away, mind you. So I get a very vivid look at this thing. Brilliant, brilliant, reddish, brown, flowing hair from head to toe. Its arms are on its side. And when I look at it, the front was like a gray. The front, his chest area was like gray, not a lot of hair there. And as I look in at that face, there's no hair on the face. Again, it's a gray face, but it's a very chiseled, old looking, wrinkled, scaly looking face. Looks much like a human, but a very odd looking human, almost like a human that had a disfigurement. Almost like perhaps this being had a stroke. He had offset opaque eyes, and they're offset. One was a lot lower than the other. He had a flat nose, kind of long, kind of pancaked out a little bit, but like wrinkly gray skin. And I'm kind of drifting. Even the boat is now kind of drifting a little closer, and I can see this thing distinctly. And it looked docile. It looked kind of lost, and just kind of like there in a daze. But I'm still trying to process the enormity of this thing. I'm thinking, what is this? Human, but not human, right? Then all of a sudden, as I'm peering in, asphyxiated at this creature, it kind of takes his head. He rolls back, and his shoulders kind of come up, so his head kind of dips below the shoulders a little bit, and it kind of leans back. And that grayish, odd-looking humanish face, it metamorphosizes. First thing is the jawline drops, literally distends down maybe 6 inches. It just kind of goes drops straight down. Opens its mouth. It's an gaping dark hole of a mouth. Had 2 teeth on the top, almost reminded me of like dog-like teeth, and 2 longer teeth extending up on the bottom. You could fit a softball, maybe 2, in this mouth. It was huge. It was totally disproportionate from the head. But the other crazy thing is when it rolls back, that grayish, wrinkled, distorted face, human face, rolls back tight and almost like a dark purple. The opaque white eyes roll over deep and black. To me, it looks like a demon at this point. Totally changed the look. And it emanates from its insides, from his lungs, this capacity. It lets out this roar, this screech, and this yell, all in unison. Right out of this open and gaping mouth without moving anything. And I can feel the reverberation come right from the tree line across the water into the boat. I can feel it hit me. It just boom, and I kind of stumble back just a little bit. Cindy, standing up, all of 5'1", about 109 pounds, flips off the boat into the water, and I hear a splash and scream and falls into the water. And this penetrating vocalization is pounding at us. Well, now pounding at me, she's in the water. The crazy thing, the reason I tell everybody about the day, the beautiful blue sky, the orange sun, emerald green forest, the beautiful coat of this creature, the reddish brown hair, right? I know I have to get Cindy to assist her to get her into this boat, but you guys, number one, I get paralyzed, not with fear. I simply can't move. And my vision became distorted. It's like I was looking through, I don't know, a grainy telescopic lens, but the beautiful colors washed away to like a grainy almost black and white color. All the beautiful colors of the day of everything blended together in a very, as I said, blackish, whitish picture. Seems like time's, stood still and I can't move. And I know I have to get Cindy. Now, Cindy can swim, but my number one objective is to get her back in this boat. I move to my right and I can't move. I start shaking my head. Rob, 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 snap out of it. All of a sudden, I snap out of it. I regain cognizance. The colors come back. I rush over. I get Cindy back into the boat. As scary as all this was, I think I was most scared when I went to look to the shoreline. This creature's gone. I don't know what the hell this is. Is it swimming? Is it underwater? Is it after us? We've drifted a lot closer into shore now, and I have no idea. I got to the controls of the boat, whipped that little baby around, and I just beeline right out of there. Headed across Lake Mitchell, through the canal, across Lake Cadillac. Found a place just to get out of the boat and launch it on the shoreline of Cadillac. Get out, grab Cindy. We haven't said a word at this point because we're just blasting across the lakes. Grab her hand. We start walking up toward the town area. And thankfully, not too far from our walk, we see this like corner bar / restaurant right on the corner. I'm like, thank you. Someplace we can go sit down, right? And we're both still in shock. I mean, I'm traumatized. She's traumatized. I mean, I'm guessing, right? I didn't know what to think at this point. And again, it's like the middle of the week, so we get into this bar restaurant area, and it's like maybe at this time, Dano is maybe close to 12 now or whatever, a little after. Not a lot of people in there. Not a holiday. Not a lot of people are at work, I'm assuming. To the right, there's a couple at the end of the bar sitting there doing their thing. And to the left, there's like nobody. And I found this little corner table right in the far out corner of the bar restaurant. We go in, we sit down across from each other. The waitress comes up to us. What y'all having? Cindy, not a drinker. I owned a bar for 13 years. When I was dating Cindy, she often came up to the bar to see me, but she don't drink. Never seen her drink anyways. She goes, I'll have a bottle of Bud Light and a shot of Jack Daniels. The waitress looks to me and says, and you? And I said, I'll have the same, but make mine a double. So she goes away, takes our order. Cindy and I are still looking at each other. We're not saying anything. We just don't know what to say at this time. But we're looking at each other, eyes locked at each other. Waitress comes back with the drinks, puts the bottle of Bud Light in front of Cindy, the shot of Jack, my 2 bottles, my 2 shots. I look at Cindy. She took that shot of Jack Daniels and threw it down like a champ, like she'd been drinking her whole life. Took that bottle of Bud Light, guzzles down half of it, washes it away. I do my deal, boom, boom. Now she says to me, Robbie, what do you think that was? I go, honey, I don't know what that was. So I throw the question back at her. What about you? She goes, now, mind you, everybody, she and I never talked Bigfoot or paranormal dating. And she just says, hey, I think maybe it was that Bigfoot creature. And I knowing a little bit about Bigfoot from like I explained earlier about Patterson Gimlin and Leonard Nimoy in Search of. I says, Yeah, maybe. Maybe it was. So Cindy now says, you think we should call the DNR, the sheriff, the authorities? And I say to her, that's a big no. Because number one, what just happened is unexplainable. Not believable, really. I'm still processing this. I says, no, I don't think we should. She goes, yeah, you're probably right. So we leave the bar restaurant, and there's nothing on our minds other than trying to figure out what we came across. Unfortunately, the nice weekend was cut short, so we packed up our everything and we went back to where we live down south, right, of in Michigan. We immediately immersed ourselves into researching online, of course, and I discovered YouTube. I didn't discover YouTube. YouTube for me, everybody, was watch some cool bands from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, watch the live shows. That's what I use YouTube for. I didn't know there were chat rooms. I didn't know there were podcasts on YouTube. Yeah, I knew that you could type on YouTube how to fix a flat, how to bake a cake, but I didn't do that stuff. And so I started searching YouTube and typing in Bigfoot, demons, paranormal creatures. She was doing the same. And of course, we went on the computer. We're doing all these things, and we researched and searched, and I started putting out calls. Then I found these shows on YouTube, of none of which I follow today, by the way, because I was just haphazardly going about this. And nothing really resembled or nothing matched up anything that we had experienced, right? So that was frustrating. So Cindy and I are at this, and we're mystified. So, as I said, June 15th, right, of 2018, we experienced this. I have to throw in this little caveat. When I was dating Cindy, her mother, Cindy and I did not live together. She lived with her mom. Mom was alone, everybody gone. But Cindy's mother did not like me because I owned a bar. Therefore, I was the devil. She would never look me in the eye, never called me. If I called the home phone, never, she would hang up on me. Just a very didn't like me because I was a bad guy, right? According to her. So the other important date that I mentioned in this entire experience was, of course, June 15th of 2018. And then August 15th of 2018, I took Cindy home that night. Everything was fine. Did a little research online and called it a night, took her home. About 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, I get a call. I answered the phone. I don't recognize the voice or even the number, or I didn't pay attention. I personally don't remember. I'm like, who is this? She goes, oh, Cindy's mom. I go, oh, okay, what's up? I'm thinking this is unusual. I just called to inform you that Cindy passed away last night after you dropped her off. I blame it on you. Hung up. I wasn't allowed to the funeral or anything like that. I tried to go to the funeral, but I was thrown out. So, I wanted to go back to this Lake Cadillac, right? Kill this thing, right? Sorry to say that, everybody. I've told this story 1,000 times, and every once in a while it gets to me, right? Especially since we're in June, and her anniversary of her death is coming up, right? Sorry. So yeah, I just want to go back and just hunt this thing down, whatever. So as I made mention earlier, I owned a bar, so yeah, I know what to do. Wasn't allowed to the funeral. I don't have any closure. Her mom says it was a heart attack. I guess the only tidbit of information I got. Me not being married to her or being a sister or brother, I never had any records of the autopsy, the actual cause of death. So her death to me, you guys, is a mystery. Her mom has since passed, and that's it. The books are closed on Cindy. I'll never know in my entire life how she died. And I will tell you this, in 2018, I blamed it on my experience. I blamed it on the encounter that sonic that when it vocalized at us and how I lost cognizance. Everything turned black and white. I got paralyzed. I'm thinking that affected her, but way greater than me. I'm thinking that maybe it screwed up her inside somehow. And a couple months later, the effects took her down. So I'm not a fan of Bigfoot back then. I'm not a big fan today. I don't call it the friendly forest giant. Although I'm different today. I know they're not all bad. There's good people, there's bad cryptids. There's good Bigfoot, bad Bigfoot, blah, blah, blah. I'm not getting into that. So I had a sour taste in my mouth. So as I said, I own the bar. So I go back to the bar and I tell my manager, I says, hey man, I just been through some things and I can't explain it to you now because it's just totally out there. Here are the keys to the bar. Lock it up. Don't lock it up. Keep it open. I won't be back for a while. Just put all the money in the bank. Please don't rip me off. And I know you won't because I trust you, this, that, and the other. And I've been in business with this guy my entire life. So I did trust him. I said, I'll get back to you when I get back to you. So I didn't go back to my bar for 6 months. Now I called and got updates, this, that, and the other, But for 6 months, I went on this crusade to investigate and find out what happened, what I saw, and if it did have any effects on my girlfriend. Then I ran into Tex, who I could trust. This guy, Kerry Arnold. I ran into this guy, Kerry Arnold from from Bigfoot Odyssey, who since passed away a couple years ago. And he finally, the guy I could trust, told me, and I saw his encounter on YouTube, by the way, which kind of was like mine. And this guy left his phone number on his YouTube that he would feel free to call me. So I called this guy. I talked to him for like 4 hours, a stranger. Rob, he says, you're not going crazy, man. I believe you, and what you happened was a Bigfoot encounter. I often think that it was maybe, I always say it looked like a demon when it did that metamorphosis, everybody, and it totally changed its look. So for a long time, I thought it was a demon. Today, I don't think that too much. I just think it was just one of those experiences that I'll still never fully understand. And hence, the reason I set up my Bigfoot Mr. Rob channel and written 2 books is because those 6 months of being in darkness with no help, no support, today I realize what people go through and what I went through, nobody should go through. So that's why I think it's now my calling to do my shows, tell people stories, interview people, much like I did Dano. Because for me, it's therapy. And that's why I do what I do today.
Bro.
Can we pause really quick?
Yeah. No problem. I got you.
Oh, thanks.
Hey, man. Rob, bro, I really just don't know what to say. I have no words, man. I'm sorry for your loss. I know it was 2018, but it can't get any easier, you know? So,
Yeah, it's kind of strange because as I mentioned earlier about the West Germer when I first did that, how I was really emotional and we did like a million takes. I've told this encounter 1,000 times, probably not that many times since like 2019 when I first aired it.
mhm,
But for whatever reason, I did get a little emotional there because I just realized that the encounter was really coming up pretty soon, and then the death is pretty soon after that, and it's the first time in a long time that it hit me, and that's why I like doing this. And for me, when I tell the encounter, every once in a while, for me, it's good therapy.
yeah,
And I said a little bit during this show, it's not so much the cryptid. Now, I don't think that the Bigfoot is evil or a demon, like I said, although the transformation was something, the metamorphosis, but the mystery of never knowing the real truth behind how Cindy did pass. I think I'll never fully have closure. My closure is there that she's no longer here. But the why, if I just knew the why, and there's no way I can get any information on this, at least to my knowledge, and I've tried, I've given up, to be honest, the last couple of years. But that's why eh, I love doing what I'm doing today, is because, as I made mention, helping other people is where it's at today for me, because that's what I enjoy the most, hearing people tell their story, because uh, I feel their stories.
yeah. And you know, when you said June 15th, and, you confirmed that's the day Cindy passed away,
Well,
I shared
August 15th, yeah.
she passed away August 15th.
Yeah, the calendar was June 15th, yeah,
Yeah,
and then August 15th, like, boom, 2 months later, gone. Yeah.
yeah, June 15th was the day my little brother passed away in
Okay, okay,
2016. So,
okay, yeah.
that's, it's a rough date for me. I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. I have 10 months out of the year, I am in a constant state of melancholy
Mm, okay,
because there's no significant date. Well, let's see, what days am I thinking about? August and September
mhm,
are like the 2 months that I have where there's no significant date
okay,
that reminds me of something. But from, like, October to July, it's birthdays, anniversaries,
yeah,
favorite holidays, and I'm not gonna get a chance to visit with those people anymore, hear their voices anymore. I know they're with me, and just like, I hope Cindy's with you.
yeah,
Um, and it's rough, but this is such a significant, powerful moment in your life that you shared with her. And when how do remember, or do you remember how long she was looking over towards the shore before she was able to say something to you and be like, "Hey, Rob, what is that?"
Well, here's the thing, she was looking at the shore the entire time I was putting the tackle together, because there's, like, the 3 different the 2 instances, and the 3rd when I seen the
Mhm.
rock. She was always looking, but when I looked up and seen the rock finally falling, and that's when the creature must have emerged, 'cause I didn't look to the shore, I just looked up, and then I said, "Holy cow, Cindy." Then I looked at her and I seen the state that she was in. Like I said, she lost all of her color and she was like in a trance. And then I looked to the shore and I see this,
Yeah.
humongous creature, I guess. And then when it dropped, then did that little switch over from the human looking person to like this creature, really a
Mhm.
creature, right?
Yeah.
I always say demon. I don't think it's a demon today, obviously, but then again, who knows? So, but then when I got hit with that roar, that scream when she flipped off the boat, my cognizance, my conscious mind was like elsewhere. It was slow motion. I
Yeah.
don't know how long she saw it herself. Certainly, she's seen it from her expression. And then for me, though, it was just like one of those I can't move. Like I was scared because I couldn't. Thought my vision was going because everything. I always like to explain how brilliant the day was.
Hmm.
I always like to say how vivid the coloring was. It all blended into like a black and white mass of like
Yeah.
weird grainy film, right? In my through my vision. And then I'm telling you, the whole encounter was probably 10, 12 seconds. I mean, probably.
Yeah. It's crazy on how much detail some people capture, you know, and it's a snap and it's done. You did now that rock you saw sail through the air. Did you say it landed in the boat?
It landed about 4 to 5 feet outside of the boat
Oh,
and
4 to 5
splashed
feet
into the
off.
water right in front
Okay.
of us. And then when that happened, I went to turn to Cindy and apologize because it was a rock. And then that's when she was frozen in the
Yeah.
moment. And then I look, what the hell she looking at? And I see this creature. And then it switched its look, and then it did its vocalization towards us.
About how long was she in the water?
Again, so hard to put the time together because it seemed for me when I all of a sudden lost my cognizance,
Hmm.
it seemed like it lasted for me a lifetime.
Yeah.
But it was probably, again, this entire episode was probably 12 seconds, 10, 12 seconds. So as soon as I snapped out of it, boom, I got her back in. Now she knew how to swim. In fact, when I got to her, she already had arms up on the boat trying to
Hmm.
pull herself up and in. Then I was just able to get her in. Then I looked to the shore and then there's like nothing there. I'm like, holy cow, where's this thing at? This, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And then got the heck out of there.
So you didn't get a chance to see it take off.
No, I did not see it take off.
Now, when you guys were leaving, did you hear anything else or sense anything else?
No, when I started leaving, man, I just beelined it, and I didn't even notice anybody on the lake. Now that day, there wasn't a lot of people on the lake to begin with, and I was looking like I had like blinders on,
Yeah.
looking for the avenue to get out of there, and looking for that canal to cross through.
Hmm.
Then when I crossed through the canal, I got on Cadillac, and I just looked for shore, just started beelining right towards the shore, close to where I launched the boat earlier,
Yeah.
and then got her together, got her up. We're not even talking, man. I'm just looking for someplace to go sit down, and luckily happened onto that restaurant area, bar area.
Yeah. Let me ask you, how many times did you bid out on that lake?
That's the first time I've ever been there.
Did you around that area, had you heard of any strange reports of anything at all around that area?
No, I will tell you this, never, because again, back during this time period, I wasn't really avidly into looking up Bigfoot and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I will tell you that after I did the West German thing, and then what I did was I was suggested to me to do it on YouTube. And my Bigfoot Mission Rob, see, I didn't have a channel. I started a channel 2 years after, but it was suggested, Rob, why don't you go on YouTube and just and tell your encounter and put it out there, and maybe you'll get some information from folks. So it was funny because I never did that. I didn't know how to do it. And so I looked it up how to do it a little bit. So I had to come up with a handle. And I'm thinking, well, what should my handle be? And it's like, okay, I saw Bigfoot. I live in Michigan. My name's Rob, so I made it Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Yeah, that's how simple this all started, man.
Yeah.
And then I did a video, terrible video. I mean, I look back at it and I don't have it. I took it down a long time ago because I looked like an idiot. Um, yeah, I had no background. It was just me and clothing in the background. Yeah, it was just how it goes, right?
Yeah.
I had 2,000 views on that in like 3 days. And I got all these comments, and a lot of them were very good. In fact, there were several people, and even to this day, one guy in particular tell me, yes, there's things in that area. Oh, the Manistee National Forest. Oh, yeah, they're there. Manistee National Forest, Wexford County, which is the county that I was in,
Mhm.
capital of Dogman. Enchanted Forest, cursed forest in this land. So, of course, now after I got it together, grieved, and I started diving into this, many people have called me or emailed me or left comments that they hear strange howls at Lake Mitchell, Lake Cadillac. I think there was 2 other sightings there. A guy told me he knew the exact location where I was, and this guy suspects there's Bigfoot around there. But when I look back at it, because I've thoroughly looked over a lot of different things, I'm thinking that what I experienced was like a disbanded Bigfoot, I think, from its clan. I think it's one of those rogues got kicked out of its tribal unit or its clan or its family unit,
Mhm.
because there's not too many accounts where this happens from what I've gathered without some other family unit around. Now that's just what I've heard. I don't know how true that is. What we know and don't know about Bigfoot is speculation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know, because you would think there would be a lot more sightings at Lake Cadillac, Lake Mitchell, but there's maybe 2 or 3 over the last several years. Now, though, Wexford County, there's like 32 accounts of Bigfoot and Dogman
Yeah.
combinations.
Well, let me ask you this: how close is that to Boone, Michigan?
To be honest with you, I would have to look it up. I don't know.
Because my son's fiance, her family own like 35 acres
Um,
that butts up right, like literally right next to the Manistee National Forest.
yeah, I mean, it could be in the area, but like as I said earlier in the show, the forest there's the Manistee National Forest and the Huron Manistee National Forest that extends from the all the way from the east to the
Mhm.
east to the west, west to the east. Encompasses, if you get about 2.5 hours out of here, it's across the whole upper Michigan. And so it's I'm sure that Boone County is probably there. If they told you that, I'm sure it's there because it covers
Well,
a lot of territory.
well, the town is Boone. That's where they live.
Okay.
I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna look it
Okay.
up right now.
Okay.
Boone, Michigan. Da, 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 da. Let's see here. Yeah, it's an unincorporated community,
Okay.
and what I'm looking for is there's Lake Dayhuff right there. Oh, so it's okay. So there is there's Cadillac, so they're not far from Cadillac, and then there's Huron Manistee National Forest.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find out where that lake is. But the lake, let's see what we have here. Oh no, bro, you're like right there, man.
Okay.
Right there, because yeah. Oh my goodness. So I've been there many, many times. Like
Okay.
since my son moved up there,
Okay.
we would spend time in Bay City,
Yep.
and then we see, and I laugh because I asked my daughter, I call her my daughter-in-law.
Sure.
I asked, have you seen or heard anything out in these woods? And he's like, no, no, not at all. They've been there over 20 years. Like they've been like
Okay.
20, like 22, 23, 25 years maybe.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I said, have you seen or heard anything? Because he walks his woods.
Mm.
He has maybe 2 acres of land that's like house and yard, and then
Yeah.
everything else is woods. He sets, he hunts bear out there, deer out there. And he said he's never heard or seen anything out there. And when I told him, I says, well, I've heard that there's quite a few sightings in this national forest that you pretty much live in,
Right.
and he's like, "Oh, no, that's not true. That's not true." Yeah, it is true because I'm talking to a dude where it happened at. So,
Right.
and I'm looking at the lakes right now, and my wife and I, we stayed right across the street from Lake Cadillac
Okay.
at a hotel, um, like 3 times. So,
Well, yeah, yeah, and again, Lake Cadillac, Lake Mitchell, yeah, that's where I was. But as you can look on the map,
mhm,
there's so many. I mean, there's that forest is abundant, and a lot of and I've done shows with at least 3 or 4 guests that from Michigan that have had all sorts of different encounters, like in that entire area of Wexford, the county of Wexford, outside of Cadillac,
yeah,
more towards the center of Michigan. I will tell you that where I live in the state, once you get outside of Flint
mhm,
and into the woods, there's all sorts of things and there's all sorts of mysteries. And a lot of this, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of these lands are tainted, as they say. Because trust me, I've researched quite a bit now on the forest, not just where I was, right, but the entire state of Michigan, basically.
mhm.
And there's many more encounters or stories or sightings than they have posted on, like, let's say, like the BFRO.
Yeah. Oh,
You
no, for sure. Like, a Saturday, I'm doing an episode, um, where I'm interviewing someone who's from Michigan, and they're gonna tell me their encounters. Um, that's where I'm not saying it was a dog man that I saw, but up in Escanaba, up in the UP,
Oh yeah, I know where that is.
we were
Well,
just
there's Dogman in Escanaba because I have a friend, well, an acquaintance that follows my show, lives in Escanaba, has Dogman on her property.
yeah, see, those are the type of encounters that I want because this happened, I wanna say it was in November timeframe, and we were just west of Escanaba. We had just gone through we'd just gone through Escanaba, and this is probably 2 in the morning, and we were probably maybe a mile outside of town, and as you're driving west, there's a cemetery on the right-hand side going out of town,
Mhm.
and it was foggy this morning, like, early morning, it was foggy, and so I wasn't driving as fast because my daughter-in-law's mom and her hit an elk up in that area,
Mhm.
and trashed her truck. But anyway, I see something moving through this fog coming from the right side of the road to the left side of the road. So I slow down, I turn my brights on, and that just shot back in my face. So I just kept my driving lights on, and out of the fog, this wolf, this thing was massive, just came walking out. And
Yeah.
it stopped in the middle of the road and we made eye contact,
Yeah.
and it took everything in my power not to get out of my truck to go up and hug this wolf. Like, this wolf, I wanted to hug this wolf. It was beautiful,
Okay, wow.
but if it wanted to walk up, if it would have walked up to the front of my, because I drive a full size, 4-wheel drive Chevy Silverado 1500,
Yeah.
if it wanted to, it could have walked up to the front of my truck and lift its head up and rested its chin on the hood of my truck with no problems. This thing was big, and it just kinda looked at me, and I looked at it, and just turned its head and just walked off like it was going towards the lake. So,
And did you say that was by at the cemetery?
yeah.
It's so. Here's another thing, because this resonates, because I had a guy on the show maybe a year and a half ago, and I got another person that I put in one of the books, and there's something about literally dog men in cemeteries.
Mhm.
It seems like I get a lot of people tell me they hang out at cemeteries. I had a person that suggested and believes that they're the crypt keepers of cemeteries. But this guy was telling me this story, kind of similar to what you're telling me, is he was at a cemetery looking for ghosts, and a fog rolled in, and he was looking around, and then the fog kind of covered and encompassed the cemetery area, so he really couldn't see very well. And then when the fog kind of dissipated, he seen this huge like wolf around a headstone, and he was digging up and around the headstone, literally frantically clawing at it and like digging. And then all of a sudden stopped. It had to sense that this wolf, right, was spotted by this guy. And he says, Rob, all of a sudden he stopped what he was doing. The fog is now kind of already dissipated, as I said. He says it turned around on all fours. He says this thing maybe was 4 foot tall, it seemed, on all fours looking at me. And you could see these ambient yellowish eyes or whatever,
Mhm.
eye shine. He says, Rob, then it sat down. Then from its sitting position, crouched, it stood up on 2 legs. He said, man, it had to be about 6.5 foot tall, and it stared at him. And then it brought his head back and it howled. An unusual howl, unlike like a wolf's howl.
Mhm.
Because you guys, he says he's familiar with the sounds of wolves because this was unlike any canine wolf howl he's ever heard. It was creepy, and it looked at him, got back down, and vanished and ran. He said it ran back out of the cemetery, back to the back of where the forest line started. And he's asking me, what do I think that was? I said, well, it's hard. I mean, with what you just gave me, I don't know. But it was certainly, but the reason I bring that up is because I've had many people tell me, oftentimes, if they're paranormal or ghost hunters, they don't come across anything like that, but they come across these dogman type creatures. And
Yeah.
I just think I like getting stories like that and hearing even what you told me, because it's a lot of good data points, right? The more and more you hear these things, it all just adds up. It just all you collect the information. So I think there's something going on with that. That's just my opinion, but what I've heard, you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. And I'm not saying that it was a dog man. It was just
Right.
very
But it was just very
coincidental.
coincident, and it's a big wolf.
Yeah, that is the biggest one. I mean, and again, I'm saying because it was probably 30 feet maybe in front of my truck.
Yeah, right there.
So it looked gigantic. But I mean, if it probably would have came up, it probably would have been more, its head probably would have been more, maybe at the top of my headlights, you know? Not
Right.
but I mean, it was so massive. It was just thick and huge, and I'm like, "That's a big boy." I just wanna go out there and give it a big hug, you
No,
know?
yeah. And you said it was pretty, it was beautiful looking. So yeah, I can
Oh,
see your
and
point there.
and
Absolutely.
yellowish eyes, just
Yeah.
beautiful yellowish eyes. It stared right into like, our eyes, like, you and I are looking at each other
They
right
locked
now,
up. Yeah.
they just
It
locked,
locked up. They
so,
locked up.
yeah. But, hey, man, I wanna say thank you so much. Thank you for being just vulnerable and sharing that really hard story with me and my audience. And you know I started this, like I said, because I needed validation, but I also started to help people,
Yeah.
to try to help people figure out what's going on or to try to find answers. And my podcast is a safe place for anybody to come and share their encounter without
Yeah.
ridicule, without any judgment. And again, thank you for what you're doing to this
Yeah.
community, not just your show, but the other ones you're
Yeah,
involved in, man.
absolutely.
So
And it's why I knew that we hit it off first couple times I spoke with you, because my channel, Bigfoot Mr. Rob channel, of course, for everybody, if you're new out there, never seen me, we help people. I love people that want to share their stories. They come on. We also interview researchers, and again, I I guess in a way I do this show through Cindy. I'm thinking she'd really want me to do this. And I started doing it really maybe for validation, but for me, Every time I talk cryptids or even paranormal, for me, it's like a therapeutic moment. It is. It might sound corny to people listening, but when I hear somebody tell me a story, I can empathize because
Yeah.
I've been there. And like I said, I walked alone, man. I was ridiculed and judged, or people acted like they believe me, but they just
Hmm.
want a cool story for their podcast.
Yeah.
And you
No,
can
you're
tell
right.
the difference after a while,
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, for sure.
and of course, the Blondes and the Boos, they're great friends of mine. And by the way, I'll plug our conference for
I
anybody.
was just gonna bring that up.
Yeah, we've got a great conference we put together. Me, the Blondes and the Boos, that's Krista and Brandy, and a Tex from Texas Front Porch. Monica Rollins, our Paranormal World. Donnie Cho, Paranormal Paul. That's our little group of network. They call us like a network, I guess. Separate channels, though. September 19th and 20th, we are doing in Richmond, Missouri. It's going to be a cryptid, paranormal, and UFO conference. And we've got over 20 known and not so well known speakers and special guests. They're going to talk all these 3 different venues. We're also having a ghost hunt, a live ghost hunt with a lot of the speakers at out there at a haunted museum. We already sold out all the tickets, but there's a $10 tour that people go through a tour of this place. So we're going to hang out there and do a ghost investigation. And it kicks out Thursday. We added another venue. We're doing a Thursday pre-party at a haunted ranch, not too far from there. So y'all can hang out with us before the festivities on Friday and Saturday. But we're gonna have a lot of people that are known. I can't. I'll miss somebody. We got like Brian Bowden. We've got, oh gosh, we got William Lunsford. We've got Dean Birch. We've got people from all walks of the cryptid, paranormal, and UFO field. Gonna be a fantastic show. We'll all be there. All the people that I roll with in the YouTube, and which are now great friends of mine, which I find to be as more important. All the friendships I've made, and I will tell you this: I've made more friends on YouTube with the people I associate with than I probably have in my 50 years living on the planet. Great people, great
Yeah.
people. We're all like-minded.
Yep.
We don't make fun. We don't ridicule. We don't judge. You could tell me a story that Dogman sat at your table and I had Thanksgiving dinner. I would not judge you, ridicule you. I would let you tell your
Yeah.
story. It's up to the
So
audience to decide.
so if people wanted more information about your conference, where would they go to get more information?
Eventbrite.com. I don't have a link handy. The links are on all of our channels, though. And if you ever pop in one of our shows, we do the links are in our descriptions. I have it on my YouTube page, the link.
Did you say Eventbrite?
Eventbrite. I can send you the link after the
Yeah,
show if you like.
sure. Yep. So guys, go to www.eventbrite.com.
And you'd have to look for Blinds and Booze Paranormal Podcast. That's because everybody's on eventbrite.com.
Yeah.
I have the actual link to get you right to it, which I can email to or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Email it to me, and then what I'll do is I'll put it in the description of the show.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we can do that.
So, well, Rob, thanks for coming on, buddy.
Yeah, no, I loved coming on. I apologize for getting a little emotional. I haven't done that in
No,
a while, dude. And I don't
no.
want people out there thinking I'm a baby.
You're only
And I'm
human,
just-
dude. You're only human, man.
and again, something about the summertime. And all I have to
Yeah.
say to everybody listening, hey, check us out. Continue to follow the Cryptid Podcast because it's great. I'm glad that I found you. I'm glad we've become friends.
Absolutely.
And spread the good word. And I spread the good word about you as well whenever I have an opportunity when I go live. And I had a great time. Thank you.
Dude, thank you so much. Hang out in the lobby for a second, and
Yeah.
I got a couple more things to talk to you about.
Okay, cool.
All right. All right, guys. Rob, hang out. I'll see you in a minute.
All right, thanks.
All right, guys. You guys, that was Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not too often that you have a guest that comes on and literally opens their heart the way Rob did. Now, everybody when they come on, they tell a story and they're giving a piece of themselves to you. Rob got very personal with us, and he shared uh, a wonderful memory with a wonderful woman, uh, and then he also shared a very tragic moment. And I can't thank him enough for being vulnerable with us, because you guys, we've all seen the ones that go out there and they just this, they're very robotic. Not that they're not being disingenuous. It's just, this is what this is about. These are the type of stories that emotions creep up on you, and don't be afraid to come on and tell your story. My podcast, my buddy Josh's podcast, Mysteries Unknown, Rob's Bigfoot Michigan Rob, even Blondes and Booze. Those are some people that, if you do go on and share an experience with, they're not going to judge you. So, you guys, again, thank you so much for your support. Remember, tomorrow, 11:59 p.m. is the end time, the end date, the ending of the auction. So for $2.99, if you become part of the Cryptid Podcast, you'll be joining the Cryptid crew as a member. $2.99, you get your name entered in for this hat. And then what a membership does get you, it gets you early access to a Saturday release show, which I do once a month. Like my buddy Josh always says, you guys, stay prayed up. And as I always like to say, remember, everyone, a legend first begins with the sighting. You guys have a wonderful night. Thanks for joining me. I'll talk to you later.
I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something